Spiritual Center's evening transmission, usually about 5 p.m. Central Time today. Well, it's almost 9 p.m. Why? Because I was helping to teach a class until quite late, and then I had to gather the recordings, and etc., etc. So it's been a busy day. However, here we are. I know a lot of people watch this as a recording, so I'm guessing not a lot's lost. But anyway, welcome once more to this reading by Reverend Dr. Christian Sorensen, who is the spiritual leader. Anyway, the spiritual leader of, it's been a rough day. Seaside Center for Spiritual Living in Encinitas, California. How about that? So we got it out there. He's talking about a subject today that I think my wife would like this reading, actually, because she's not really a computer program person. The reading is called Beyond the Computer's Grasp. Beyond the Computer's Grasp. First quote is from Joseph Campbell, who was famous for like a hero with 1,000 faces, talking about the hero's journey and lots more. If you've never looked him up, look him up. Very interesting character. Joseph Campbell. He was prominent in the 20th century. Ernest Holmes, who was, of course, prominent in the 20th century, in the Science of Mind textbook on page 197 says, realizing that conscious thought operates through a power that is infinite, we see there can be no limit to the power to heal. Actually, when he says that, he's telling us in a total concept. There is no limit to what spirit can do that doesn't contravene the laws of its own being or the laws of the universe. But aside from that, it can do anything. There is a limit, though, and the limit is us. Ernest Thomas says in other places, the only limit to what we can actually experience is the limit that we impose on it. I'm not 100% sure how the whole article fits into it. It definitely fits into the Joseph Campbell one, where he says computers are like Old Testament gods, lots of rules and no mercy. And if you read through, it's actually now called the Hebrew Scriptures. And if you read through there, you will see that indeed it's, in a lot of cases, it's an angry God. He's angry at the chosen people. More about that another time, whether the words chosen people is correct or not. But you'll see that there, to the large extent, God is angry at the people and there is no mercy. In fact, if you read through lots of the Hebrew Scriptures, you'll see that clemency is not really way out there. In fact, it's kind of buried. And if you look at the Middle East now, you can see that this thinking still carries on, whether it's on the Arab side or the Israeli side or the Iranian side, since you may or may not know that there's been hostilities between Israel and Iran. Iran's launched a whole barrage of drones and missiles at Israel this evening. Or actually, it's early morning in Israel time. But you'll see that the thinking is still the same, that there is no mercy. But what Reverend Christian Sorensen is trying to do, he's trying to compare a God that has no mercy, and that's not 100% true, of course, in the Hebrew Scriptures, but the passages where it shows God as having no mercy to computers. Why? Because, well, you'll see, I'll read it and you'll see why he said that. Siri, or Alexa, he says Siri and her ilk, Alexa, etc., etc., have accustomed us to conversing with AI, artificial intelligence, as a common practice. OpenAI gathered data from the internet, books, websites, and social media. It still does gather. Chatbots generate responses that seem friendly and intelligent. AI now produces essays, articles, poetry, and even takes the bar exam. You can even have a conversation with a deceased historical figure, theoretically. You can ask Ernest Holmes, for example, what he thinks about your ideas, what blessings this brings, and what concerns. More about that in a minute. The aspect of religion that can not ever be replaced by AI is the sense of connectedness with the living spirit of the Almighty. It is feelings of gratitude and awe, a perceived reality. It is feelings of gratitude and awe. A perceived reality is in the brain, while the heart and soul area are where spirituality thrives. The mystical is a deep connection with the incalculable, emerging with the full spectrum of emotions, feelings, sensual and soulful. So it's a connection of the two, brain, heart, and soul. That's what he's saying here for the full experience. The challenge is not that computers will think like humans, but that humans will begin to think like computers. Life is more than just an intellectual amalgamation. It's a blending of the multidimensional aspects of your being. I'm tempted to comment here, but I'm going to finish reading it to the extent that I can today. The wonder of a community of loving family and friends will never be felt and experienced by a computer program. The simple keystroke that takes you as a spiritual being, having a human experience beyond a computer's grasp, is a feeling of gratitude, a perceived reality in the brain, while spirituality thrives in the heart and soul. Life is more than just an intellectual amalgamation. It is a blending of the multidimensional aspects of your being. No computer can compute that. Now, I don't know why he's quoting this thing from Ernest Holmes about realizing that conscious thought operates through a power that's infinite. We said there can be no limit to the power to heal. I guess in a way he's comparing that to computers and say, theoretically, ultimately, there's no limit to their thinking ability. But he's also saying, on the other hand, that at least as we stand now, computers don't have the ability to process at the level of feeling. But they can process incredibly well, but they don't have feelings. Yeah, you can kind of build feelings into computers, but it's not the same thing. It's artificial. What he's also saying is that computers will never be able to think like us because they won't have the feeling aspect built in there. Will that always be true? I don't know. But I can tell you this, and I'm just looking at his affirmation, and honestly, I think a lot of this is all over the place here. So this is me pulling it all together. The affirmation says, I now feel my higher wisdom guiding me on my perfect path. I use computers a lot. My wife thinks I'm a nerd. Am I a nerd? I don't know. But I do like using computers. I like using mobile devices of all types. But the bottom line is this. Irrespective of what Reverend Christian Sorensen says here, the fact is this, that as human beings, we're able to experience that ultimate aspect of our lives, which is beyond explanation. We can connect with the infinite, with the all, and those feelings are impossible to describe. And that when we do connect with that, we get this sense of awe, which tells us that we're much more than just bodies and brains, that there is something way beyond that. That's what I take out of this. He also quotes about there being no limit to the power to heal. I'm not quite sure how that fits in with this whole thing. Maybe I'm tired and I'm missing something. But the bottom line is this, that it's up to us to put our thoughts and feelings into the universal mind, into the mind of the divine. and to actually experience results coming out of that. Because as we talked about in the class today that Reverend Jesse was teaching on Ernest Holmes to ministerial students, you know, the only limit to what we can do really is our ability to grasp it. But as human beings, we do have limits. Who knows what will be when we get beyond this? How can this help us in our everyday life? I think just use the affirmation. I mean, whatever he says about computers not being like humans, all the rest of it, maybe it's true. Well, it is kind of true right now, but it doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that we spend time each day in some spiritual practice, and reading things like this is spiritual practice because it's taking us outside of our own reality. Doing some silent time, some either meditation or some mindfulness or some breathing exercises, and praying for ourselves and other people. And knowing that as we do have the ability to produce results on this field, that we can bring things from the infinite into the finite because of our thoughts and feelings. And Reverend Jesse said today that the mind of the all responds to feelings. It's got to know what it's doing. That's the thought. But it's the feelings that actually are the motivator, that actually produce the results, that actually bring about what the thoughts are about. And when we go with the attitude, this or something better, what we get from our prayers will be much better than we could ever have imagined. And in fact, one of our practitioners today, we've been doing some prayer work, we've been doing some other spiritual work. I call it spiritual work, mind work. And she's seeing some wonderful results, which is really kind of cool. So it works, folks. This thing works. Why? Because it's been set up that way. It just simply works. Try it. When you first start using it, you'll be told to do simple things like manifesting parking spaces and so on. But as you get more deeply into it, you will start to manifest things such as healings. And we'll not get into the whole difference between a healing and a cure today. That's not part of it. But believe me, folks, it works. Try it. And if it is too much for you to do on your own, reach out to a practitioner or a minister to do it. My talk today might have been a bit discombobulated, if that's a proper word. I don't know if it is or not. But the bottom line is that affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment, works. And right now, as human beings, we have the ability to do it. We just have to get out of our butts and do it. So remember, tomorrow, Reverend Liz will be on tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Our service live will be at 11. Everything will be recorded. If you miss it, it's always going to be there. And if you live in the neighborhood of Creative Life Spiritual Center, please make an effort to come in person. It's a different experience. It's great if you can come online. It's even greater if you can come in person. So until next time, take care of yourselves, please. And just pray for peace in the Middle East. We all need to do that. Namaste.